Say, how you doing today? How you doing today? I am your host, Lacey G. Soldier Turner, and today I have a very special guest with me. We're about to talk about some interesting things, but welcome to the platform. We got the wonderful, amazing, talented Erik Potts. Welcome to the platform.
Hey, good morning. How you doing, brother?
Good morning to you. So before we get into what I want to talk about, I want to let the people know a little bit about you. Can you let the people know where were you born and raised, and how was your upbringing as a child?
All right. So I was born and raised here in St. Louis, Missouri. Believe it or not, I was actually born and raised in Walnut Park,
Ah,
which is beautiful downtown Walnut Park, right off of Goodfellow and Lillian. So wanted to go to Northwest High School, but they ended up closing it down before that. So I ended up going to Cardinal Ritter for like a year and a half, and then another year and a half at Beaumont High School. So I graduated from Beaumont. So
oh
I'm
my,
St. Louis. I'm St. Louis through and through.
oh my! You know I'm Sumner. You know what I'm saying. So,
That's cool. The whole basketball team was football players, so it was a football without the pads.
so let me ask you this, Mr. Eric. So for people who've never been to St. Louis, they always hear about the crime, murder rate. They want to come, but they scared and all that. What can you tell people about St. Louis?
St. Louis is different. St. Louis is different. I've been to a few different places in the United States, like Savannah, Georgia. You go to Savannah, Georgia, you walk past somebody, and they don't even know, and they'll be like, "Hey, good afternoon, good evening." And they just speak. They're very cordial. That Southern hospitality is there. But St. Louis, a little bit differently. This is one of those things where you can honestly say, if you can make it here in St. Louis, you can make it anywhere else, because you got some people. I can remember one time going to Six Flags, and we saw a friend of ours that was with her boyfriend, and she introduced us, and we said, "Hey, what's up?" He assumed that we was trying to start a fight with him. It's
Hey,
just
what?
it's a different place, man. Communication is super important around here. But some of us live on pins and needles, and some of us are very relaxed and chill.
Yes.
You know, so I can tell you can definitely tell when a person's from St. Louis, because years ago I did not, it wasn't a research project or anything like that, but I was just really taking notice. I had a friend that was from California and another person that was from New York, and you had two different people. The people from New York was very like, come on, come on, come on. They were very quick, snappy, to the point, in a hurry. But the people who were from California was very relaxed, very chill.
Yeah.
No problem, no worries. Take your time. So that's it.
Yeah. And look, hey, he ain't like, look. As I always say, me and Herb, we still alive. So come on and visit St. Louis. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If we can make it, you can make it.
So, Mr. Eric, let me ask you this: how did you start? Can you tell me how at Peace of Mind Genetics and Wellness started?
Yeah. So really, what happened was this, and I'll tell you, when we originally started, we were just Peace of Mind Genetics. But the story behind it is this: I was in a relationship, and from the previous relationship, I found out, and I'm giving you the condensed version of it.
Okay.
I found out that I might have a child, as a product of that relationship that I was in. And before that, I was already working on something similar to Peace of Mind Genetics, but I never had a name for it. And it all started after me just seeing, kids in my neighborhood or kids in Walnut Park and the surrounding areas just doing bad stuff, being mischievous, throwing rocks and stuff, and just doing stuff, that was crazy. So I said, you know what? How do I stop this from happening? I was working with a lot of organizations that were doing work inside of the school. And so I was talking to kids inside of the school, but I was also working with men in the evening, like NA meetings and different things like that, facilitating. And I was like, wait a minute, maybe these kids that are acting up, it could be a possibility that I'm talking to their dads in the evening. But the problem is the kids and the dads don't know each other. So how can I bridge that gap and bring them back into the fold again? Because if I can take care of these kids and get them back with their fathers and get their fathers back in their lives, then maybe we can have a better outcome, because we have more visibility in the household. So that was my thing. So long story short, I found out that I was in the situation, and I tried to look at other areas and arenas to get the testing done. At the time, I was in the car industry as a sales rep and everything. And so I called around and was like, hey, do you take insurance for DNA testing? He was like, nope, we don't. Back then it was like $1,100 to $1,500 for the test. I think I was just calling the wrong places. I called one guy. He was like, I'm on vacation. Call me back in 3 weeks. And I'm like, nah, man, this is a pressing thing, and I need this done right now because I could have done this test myself, but I didn't want to do it because I wanted it to be non-biased. I wanted to make sure that nobody was saying I cheated or did anything crazy. So I did the test because I couldn't get anybody else to do it. So I ended up doing it myself. And from that particular point on, that's how Peace of Mind Genetics was born. And I actually gave it that name based off of what I went through. It wasn't the 9 months, that the mother was carrying the baby or anything like that. It was the time that it took for me to get the results back. Back then, it was 15 business days. And I was a wreck. I'm going out drinking. I'm going out partying. I'm doing whatever I can do to make time go by because to me, this 15 business days was longer than the 9 months. So
yeah,
just different things, man. Just being restricted from doing a lot of different things. I couldn't even see the baby born or anything like that. So I was denied a lot of stuff, and I'm just being upfront and honest. I was denied a few things in that process, but I just looked back at that whole process that I went through, and I said, hey, look, what was it that I was really looking for? And peace of mind was what it was. I was just reflecting back on that whole thing. So, and that's how I got the name for it. It was peace of mind combined with the power of genetics to do, to do greater good. So that's what it was.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So I know your main focus is on genetic testing. Could you explain why?
So the thing is this: I know the power of it. DNA testing, is a especially now you have ancestry.com that's out there now. That they're doing these tests. A whole lot of things are coming to the light. So there's a lot of power in genetics. Us as an African American community, we're the only ones that really suffer from sickle cell anemia. And why is that? It's a genetic disorder. It's a genetic defect. From slavery and from us just intertwining with each other. And even we hear it now. Kirk Franklin, just recently found out he just met his father after 50 some odd years. He just met his father. His father lived like literally down the street and around the corner from him.
That's crazy.
So another person was what's his name? Not Shannon Sharp, but Ocho Cinco, I believe. Same thing. He had a situation where his mom kept him in the house pretty much all of his childhood. And then as he got older, he went down the street to go. He's like wanted to date this young lady, and the guy came to the door and was like, "Yeah, you can never see her. You can never date her." That was his dad, and that was his sister. So just look, if those things are occurring, you have people, and I just recently talked to a senior citizen the other day that they gave me a call, and come to find out, back then it was cousins that were actually marrying their cousins and didn't even care.
That's crazy.
So just like the exposure of that is crazy. I've been doing this for almost 20 years now, and just the stories that I hear and the situations that I hear are just just unbelievable. Stories of a dude from St. Louis and a young lady from East St. Louis. They had a common bond with each other. They actually fell in love with each other because they had a similar story. They both lost their father. And come to find out, they found out at a family reunion that they were actually brother and sister. They had the same father.
That's crazy.
Like they say, Papa was a Rolling Stone, wherever he laid his hat with his home. I mean, that's really true. And even with Ludacris, when Ludacris came out, he said, I got different, I'm not going to say what he said, but he said, I got different girls in different area codes.
I guess.
Things change. If you go back in time to like the 1930s, 1940s, when African American men worked as stewards, and porters on the trains, they had accessibility to different parts, the United States. So say if I lived here in St. Louis and I'm in St. Louis, but I wanted to, I was at work. So I go to Union Station, jump on the train, and the next thing you know, 2 or 3 days, I'm in New York. I'm in the Cotton Club. I'm in Harlem, Well, let's be real. Most men weren't faithful. A lot of guys weren't faithful to their home. They send money back home, but they was out there, spreading what they say, spreading the seeds, So that's why you got Johnsons and Washingtons all over the place.
Sowing their royal oats.
Yeah. And what's crazy is like my last name is Potts, and that's a very unique name. But I know at least 4 different Pottses in the St. Louis area, and we don't even know if we're Yeah, we're about to do a big family study and everything, but we don't even know if we're actually related to each other.
That's crazy.
So the
Okay.
bad, and like even for me personally, I have I don't really know a lot about my father's side of the family. I can go back and I know my father and my grandfather had a relationship with each other, but I can't go any further than like my great grandmother, on my father's side. I knew she was a Cherokee Indian that cooked soul food, lived in a teepee. That's all I knew.
He said that's all I
So that's all I really know about it. But beyond that, I feel like an orphan,
know.
because I don't know my family history like that, like I should. So the power of genetics, like I said, it goes so many different ways from medical attributes, not knowing, what kind of health ailments you're going to have, if you're susceptible to any diseases, lifespan, paternity, a lot of these things we don't know. I
Yeah.
get, adoptive kids that are calling me like, hey, look, I don't know my birth parents. I need to know if I'm going to, if I have a chance to live past 50 years old.
Yeah.
So genetics and DNA plays a big role in how we live our lives, especially now with the technology that we have, from a
So,
diagnostic standpoint.
so I know you touched on this a little bit, but could you really explain, like, talk about the benefits of DNA testing and the effectiveness in the community?
Yes, most definitely. So we were talking about the behaviors, of the young men or the young boys, and even even girls. It's not specific to male or female, but without the presence of the father in the household, that's a big thing. That really modifies the behavior of the child. They look at statistics, and you go all the way back. They talk about Adolf Hitler didn't have his dad in his life. Um, a lot of people, what's his name, Bonnie or Clyde from Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah.
They just talk about all of the people that were failures in life that didn't have their father around. And in some sense, it's really true because I look at it like this: you have a household where the father's not there, then all of the weight goes on the mother.
Yeah.
And the mother's job then at that particular point is to provide, raise the children, make sure that they're nurtured and everything. But if she's doing that and now working a full-time job and maybe a part-time job on top of that, and then maybe going to church or going to the club, whichever one, just to kind of, let off some steam or pastime,
Mhm.
then really how much time are you giving to that child?
Exactly.
So you have children that are raising each other now, you
Facts.
know,
Babies raising
uh,
babies.
yeah, or they raising themselves with no kind of guidance. I always say, without a father, we don't have the owner's manual to fatherhood. So this young man is growing up without an owner's manual because he doesn't have that right in front of him. So where's his values, lying? Is it coming from Pookie on the corner, or is it coming from the mom that's hurt? That there's. So the thing is in this situation, they're not there. So to bring it back to your question, DNA testing really plays a big role in the household because we got to get those dads back there. And a lot of those guys want to come back, but sometimes the mom's keeping them away. You know, I've had some situations where the mom knew that this guy wasn't was the father, but she chose somebody else that
Mhm.
might have been a better provider.
Mhm.
Where this guy
Do
might
that
have
a lot.
been, hey, I'm cool, I'm from the streets or whatever, but he can be a solid father, but he might not have been that quote unquote, money earner.
Mhm.
So there's different reasons. I've had guys that, one case, I had a guy that was in love with the baby, but she chose to be with a roughneck,
Mhm.
and this guy was like actually book smart. This guy was, I call him, he was a nerd, but the thing was he was making good money and everything, but she wanted the roughneck. The roughneck lived in the house with him. So the guy came by, all he wanted to do was see the baby. And the dude like brutally beat him up, like where he had to be in the hospital for a few days.
That's crazy.
And he said if he ever came back, he was gonna get a worse beating than that. And so the guy was gone forever. So it wasn't until the baby actually was an adult, 21, 22 years old, reached out to me and said, hey, look, I need a test. I think I found my father.
Mhm.
And come to find out that was his father. That was her father. And he shared the story with him, but she was just deeply
Yeah,
upset. So
that's
these children are
crazy.
missing out on a childhood. They're missing out on what they should have. Now, think about it in the same situation. The roughneck knows that this is not his kid,
Mhm.
especially this is not his daughter.
Mhm.
But he's coming home every day, and I'm pretty sure he's bringing food home. He's taking care
Exactly.
of the clothing and all of that stuff. How you think he's gonna look at that young lady in the household?
Mhm.
You're not mine.
Yeah.
I stake no claim to you, but I'm taking care of you. So you owe me something.
Mhm.
So now we're looking at sexual abuse in the household, neglect. And it doesn't even have to be sexual. It can be verbally, it can be behaviorally, whatever. So it affects the household very deeply. There's a lot of kids that are being mistreated in the household. There are a lot of spouses that are being mistreated in the household, of the sort. So, it's very deep. We're
Right.
looking back in back around the age, I want to say like the 1940s and 50s and even the 30s. A lot of women were very relaxed on the men. For as long as they were paying the bills, because I've actually seen it with my grandparents.
Yeah, me too.
I've seen it with my grandparents. Like my grandmother actually allowed my grandfather to have a second household. As long as he took care of his bills and took care of the responsibility, she didn't care. And I grew up looking at that. Does that mean that was right? I was a kid. I didn't understand it. But when I came of age, I was like, no, that definitely, to me, that didn't work too well for me because I looked at my dad's relationship with his father, and it wasn't the best. Like I've never seen them call each other son and dad or father and dad or anything like that. So it was a strained relationship, and I saw how that played out. So I can go on for days just telling you how important genetics testing is in the household because it plays a big role, and a big part.
Okay, so let me talk about something your organization you created in 2015, Cycle Dad. So can you explain that and explain the concept around it?
Yeah, so Cycle Dad was something that I started in conjunction with Peace of Mind Genetics. Now, first off, what makes this really cool is that you got to be a father, right? So that's how it ties in with Peace of Mind Genetics. You got to be a father. So in order to be a father, you got to know, right? Because the thing is you want to be able to take care of your responsibilities and stuff, but it's just it's like buying a car without the title.
Mm-hmm.
How long am I actually going to have this car? If somebody comes and says, hey, look, that's my car. And they're like, no, this is my car. Do you have the title for it? No. So, with the testing and stuff, how far to go into the fatherhood thing. I'm not saying that you can't be a father to a kid that's not yours, but that's what it is. So Cycle Dad is an organization that I started, back in actually 2014. But it was the premise behind it was dad's using the cycle to break the cycle. So we use bicycles. We all remember as kids, we all rode bicycles, but as we get older, start messing with women, cars, things like that, we kind of forget the enjoyment that we have from riding bikes. As we get to a certain age in our 30s, 40s, the doctors start saying you need to exercise more, you're gaining unnecessary weight. And then we start feeling bad about ourselves. Our self-esteem goes down. Some of us go into depression. So this was a thing to really fix that because Cycle Dad encompasses physical workout. It is really just changing the father from a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual standpoint. This allows us to get together, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you ride your bike on your own. Tuesday and Thursday, you ride with your kids because that's your family bonding. And then on the weekends, we get together as dads and ride together, And again, it's just using the bicycle. It's just a tool, but it goes beyond that. That's just what we do. Everybody don't want to ride the bike. Some people don't have the balance. Some people just, I'm cool with bikes. But it's about men taking care of each other. And I call it paternal mentoring. Paternal mentoring is when you have dads that mentor each other and take care of each other, like a fraternity, if you will. So you got a young man riding a bike, he's winded because maybe he smokes blunts or something like that. Then you got an older guy that's kind of in shape. We're trying to make it up the hill. That younger guy can't make it. We're not going to leave him hanging. Exactly. We're going to come back for him and be like, hey, we're going to make it up this hill. Right. But that young man is going to feel like, hey, they really looked out for me. I can trust them. I don't have my dad in my life, but I got a kid. Hey, look, can I ask you some questions? About life, about fatherhood, about dealing with, your girl or whatever. But that way we get the wheels turning and we're actually stopping a cycle because everybody didn't have a dad coming up, so now we're reintroducing that together and we're giving them a better chance to do it. So as dad's using the cycle to break the cycle.
Okay. So let me ask you this, Mr. Erik, because it seems like you've been doing this for a while. So on your journey, what would you say has been your greatest challenge?
The greatest challenge is really the community buy-in. The community buy-in. It's like, this is a very serious charge that I was tasked with, and I take it very seriously. For years, I've been trying to get this really introduced in the community, and it's never been, for me, it's never been about the money. It's always been about, saving our community and saving our people within the community. You know, how many people do we have to see, continue to die in our streets? How many people do we have to continue to see going to jail? What they say, the school to prison pipeline. You know, it shouldn't be like that. So we really have to make a stand. So yeah, my thing is, like to say, the community buy-in. Nobody's really interested in DNA testing until they find themselves in a position.
Yeah.
Or they're never interested in it until their kid comes and say, "Mom, I got a young lady pregnant." She says she's pregnant. And it ain't mine, but hey, I'm in this situation. So now, this person has always heard about it. That I always just said, nah, forget about it. But now it's in your house. Now you got to take care of it. But the biggest thing is we're not a non-for-profit organization, but we don't make big profits either. Matter of fact, we don't make any profit. But the thing is, like I said, it's just a community buy-in, just other people seeing what we're doing, and it's just really we need people to just get involved with what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because we can support people in so many different ways, but we need the support to do that. We need support to support.
Because I just seen like plenty of times too. It seems like just say if I guess father doesn't sign a birth certificate or anything, or they don't know anything, the government could just place that child on you, make you pay child support and all that. And then a lot of especially in the Black community, they be too poor to go get a DNA test.
Right.
So I see.
And that was one of my things where when I started Piece of Mind Genetics, after my situation, these are the things, and these are my benchmarks. I call them the 3 A's. The test that I provide has to be affordable. It has to be accurate, because if I second guess anything or shortcut myself, then somebody can lose their life over these results. So I got to make sure I'm not cutting any corners, and I'm giving them the best test that I can give them. And it's got to be accessible. You don't have to go into a government office to get it done. It's very private, it's very confidential, and you get what you need to get. I do the test and I turn the results around quicker than the state. The state on average can take, because of their lack of manpower, their overhead, and what they have in their pile, it can take almost 2 to 3 months for them to turn a test around.
That's crazy.
Where it takes me about 2 to 3 business days. So it's a very quick turnaround with me. Plus, I don't have to report to the government or to the state. I don't. It's confidential. Gotcha. But I give you the tools that you need to do what you have to do. Gotcha. So not only do I work with men that are here, I actually work with deceased individuals as well. So there's a lot of kids out here that have fathers or potential fathers that were murdered. And so what we're able to do is we do family reconstruction, or I work with the other entities to actually secure samples of the deceased and actually do the DNA test after the fact, and I call that post-mortem testing. And so what that does, that allows children, because believe it or not, and a lot of people don't know, some children are actually they actually can get benefits from Social Security in some situations, or they can get other additional benefits from that. So yeah, that's pretty cool.
So let me ask you this, Mr. Erik. So is it a way for, let's say, I guess a guy wants to know if a child is his, and the mother won't let him see that child or get the test? How can he still, I guess, find a way to prove that the child is his or not?
Right. So there's 2 different ways you can go about it. A lot of times I've been pretty successful with doing that. Sometimes I just talk to the mother. Hey, give me your phone number. Give me your Instagram. And I just read straight out, because what makes me different from the other companies that are out there is the fact that I actually care about what I do. When you call, you're not just a customer. You're not just like, hey, look, how you doing? Oh, well, I don't have contact with the person, or I don't have this, or I don't have the money. My thing is this. I take each person or each call as an individual call, and I don't have a set structure where you don't meet these criteria, so I can't mess with you. Mom's not available, or, I find a way to get it done. So if that means I got to talk to the mom, because the mom ain't messing with you because you cheated. So let me go around and look at it from another perspective. What is it the children need? What's the kids' needs? Is there a medical need behind it? Yeah. So, I go in hard, and I go one-on-one with each situation just to make sure I get these things done. So it's 2 different ways we can do it. Either A, I can voluntarily get the mom to cooperate and do the test, or B, we go the legal route. If we go the legal route, we can get attorneys involved. the attorney gets involved, at least gets in front of the judge, and the judge issues a court order.
Mm.
And I've had it to where the mother, we went to the house to get the collection at the house, and the mother refused to do it, and the police took her into custody
Mm.
because it was a court order, and it was actually, it was something that needed to take place because the court said, hey, look, we got to find out if this guy's the father or not. So he can either handle his financial, obligations or be taken off of child support, and that's another thing. I've worked with entertainers in the St. Louis community, athletes, where I've had one gentleman that was incarcerated in St. Louis City, and we went to the jail and did the collection. Now he's a big time rapper.
Mm-hmm.
Stuck in jail. He couldn't get out. They took his passport from him and everything. He couldn't travel or do anything. But now he's locked up for child support. Come to find out, we do the test. He's not the father.
That's correct.
He's not the father. So his whole livelihood was put on hold. And he was treated like a criminal for something that he even had in place. So we found out that he wasn't the father. He gets released like literally immediately, and he's back touring again and doing his thing. So that's the power of what we do.
Okay.
So getting effective.
So sound good. So what would you say has been, you probably already said it, but what would you say has been your greatest accomplishment?
Greatest accomplishment? I mean, really just being around as long as I've been. My biggest accomplishment for me is being able to know that I was my son's father. That was, to me, that was, very detrimental to my formation and where I'm at. I know that because I have the knowledge that he's my son, in a situation that, I can go all out for him if I need to. The good thing about it is, in this situation, he has other stepdads in his life. So he's got his choice of dads now. But, the greatest accomplishment was he was raised as a kid to call me Erik, just because of the situations that he was in, And my thing was, over the years, I want to say after about 2011 or so, he actually called me dad for the first time. So that really was good because I never pressed him to call me dad. I'm your dad. You need to call me dad. I just let it slide. My thing was this. I tell people this all the time. You spell love Time. And if I spend time with him, he'll do that. Because you got a lot of guys out here be like, hey, that's my father. But they'll never call him dad because they just know, hey, he just made me, but he ain't doing anything for me. Remember Shaquille O'Neal had that song, Phil is my dad?
Yeah.
That's real because I see it like this. Dad is a term of endearment.
Yes.
If you love your father, you're going to call him dad. I learned that by watching Leave It to Beaver and the Cosby Show, because really that's the definition of a father. A father's a dad if you love him. And if you despise him or there's he's just the person that made me. That's it. He's just my father on record. But my dad is the person that actually takes care of me, that nurtures me, that teaches me things. So, again, that was my thing. When he called me dad, and I'm like, man, that's it. That's it right there.
He's like, that's it right there.
And even to the day, I mean, he's 20 years old, but anytime we talk on the phone, even when he's with me, I love you, Dad. I love you. That's every day. And the thing about it, I'm not rich. So it ain't about, we do lavish things and this, that, and the other. And he's just saying that to get a paycheck.
Yeah.
He does that because he genuinely loves me. He knows the struggles that I've went through, doing this business. I used to carry him along everywhere. Before he can actually say his name, he can say Peace of Mind Genetics. So that's cool. But, we talk about generational wealth. I'm giving him a wealth of knowledge, to where, and I'm not saying that he's got to do DNA testing, for his life. It's not his life calling. But if I can give him wealth, hey, look, because I'm giving you something that I didn't have. I didn't have my father. He was around, but he wasn't in my life like I needed him. So, I'm giving him that wealth. So it ain't money, but it's some jewels that he can take with him for the rest of his life, because now he'll know how to raise his kids.
Definitely.
He'll know, from the mistakes that I had to make, and I didn't make any big mistakes, but what I would say is that if you spend the time with the kids and give them what they need, nurture them, teach them, just the basics of life, they can take it to the next level.
Yeah.
We the iPhone 1s and they the iPhones 12, 11, 12, 13, 14, like
Right.
that. We can still make phone calls, but they can do so much more.
There you
But
go.
if we instill the values and instill the principles in them, then they can take it to a whole new level.
Facts. I agree. So let me ask you this: do you have anything coming up that you want to promote?
You know, I don't have any events. I was trying to do something around Christmas, but be on the lookout. What I'm doing now, and what's exciting is I just got a donation.
Mm.
Like I said, I'm not a non for profit, but people are understanding. People are really starting to see what I'm doing, right? And the thing is what I do is completely self funded by me. I don't get loans. I don't have a spending account or anything like that. Everything I do comes out of my pocket.
Mm.
So I just got a donation the other day from a private contributor to sponsor 3 families, in which I had some families that were actually waiting for tests. Like I literally just took them in and was like, hey, look, let me just get the samples and everything, and let me see what I can do. So now I'm actually able to take care of these tests because they wasn't able financially to take care of it. So now we're able to, and I work with people. If you don't have all the money up front, let's just find a way to get it done. you
Gotcha.
know.
That's
So
great.
that's the thing. So that's the thing. So now it's starting to work. People are starting to see, the value of what we do, and they actually want to be involved because, it just takes all of us together working together to change the community. Be the change that you want to see.
Yeah.
So right now, I don't have any upcoming events coming up right this second. But I'll just say, just be on the lookout because this thing is ever changing.
Okay.
You
Oh,
know, um,
okay.
we're bringing mental health, like us on the wellness side, because we're Peace of Mind Genetics and Wellness. We're actually bringing in, other services into the fold too, like mental health services
Okay.
as well. So we're just looking, to solidify the right partnerships with the right people to make sure that we can provide it to the community, and to each other, because it's up to us to help each other out.
Okay.
We can't sit back and wait. Malcolm X said that we can't sit back and wait for somebody to come and save us. It's our job to save ourselves,
That's right.
and that's what it's about.
So if anybody wants to get testing or anything, how can they get in contact with Peace of Mind Genetics?
Several different ways. You can go to our website, which is peaceofmindgenetics.com. You can call me directly at 314-714-5362. You can email me at info at Peace of Mind Genetics. You can find me on all of the, like my Facebook is like super live. You can find me on Facebook at Peace of Mind Genetics on Facebook, Instagram, and believe it or not, I just got a Twitter account today, an X account. So I'm on there. So
Okay.
yeah, no, just look out for me, man. And it's just a lot, that we're doing. I'm trying to do so much in so little time that it's ever changing. Every day is a different day.
Okay. So my last question, Mr. Erik Potts, that I love to ask all my guests. So
Mhm.
when it is all said and done and you are long gone from this earth, what is it that you want the people to know about Erik Potts?
The last thing, it wasn't that I was the coolest person on earth. I just want them to know that I was a person that cared about his community and his family. I'm a God fearing person that, man, I'm telling you, I will give the shirt off my back to help somebody else out. You know, they would just know that, my mark would be that I tried to do my best to push our community and try to get our community to a better state. And that's what I want to be reminded of. And the thing about it is, like right now, although it feels great, I don't want the awards right now. I don't want the accolades, but it's crazy because I don't even listen and look at them a lot. But Charleston White, he said, man, he said, people really don't, he said, people don't tell you, he said, the only time that you hear that you were the best or you were a great person or you did such and such was when you did and you're in the casket and you can't even hear it.
Facts.
But every once in a while, it's good for somebody just to say, hey, look, you're doing a great job, or I see, you're doing a good job. And it's not about being in the circles and winning the awards and all of this and the other, but just for one person, if just one person just said, hey, look, I appreciate what you're doing for the people. That's what it's about, man. We have to encourage each other. I don't care if you're selling socks on Kings Highway and Natural Bridge. Hey, man, I see you out here doing your thing, man. I'm gonna support you. Just based off of strength. But Yeah, man, that's my mark, man. I just want to be known for just doing good work in the community, man. Because maybe somebody will look at my work, and be like, man, he was a pioneer in St. Louis, And really, I don't even trip off of it. I am the first African American or the first black man or black male in the St. Louis community that actually did DNA genetics testing.
Mm,
I'm the first.
mm,
Who's going to be that next person that comes behind me? And it might be a kid, 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years from now that's saying, hey, Erik was here in St. Louis doing this, and I want to continue on from where he's at when I'm done.
mm.
And that's what it's about, man. It's a legacy. And it don't even have to be my kids. It's just somebody else just picking up from where I left
I like that. Well, Mr. Erik Potts, I said for you, you're doing a great job. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
Keep it up.
appreciate it, man. Appreciate it, brother.
No problem. So I definitely will appreciate the interview, and I appreciate everything you're doing for the community. And I will definitely let you know when this article drop and the video interview also.
No, appreciate it, man. Thank you for the invitation. And thank you for your time. And I
No
mean, it's
problem.
definitely been a pleasure.
All right, no problem. You have a good day.
All right, you too, sir.
All right,
All
peace
right.
out.